tomorrow night, but is Tampa Bay. Let's look at why Tampa Bay might want to move out.
Well, with Tampa Bay, they're sitting at 19, and so, you have to wonder, what do they want? I keep hearing Dalvin Cook. That's the first thing that comes to mind is when you're sitting at 19, why would you move out? Well, if you like Dalvin Cook, but you're worried about the character concern, and you can move back and get additional picks, as you guys have both talked about, in a draft rich in talent in the second and third rounds, maybe you move back and get a player at 27 that you could have gotten at 19 because teams are kind of shying away from him. And I think this could be the range where teams, if a quarterback doesn't get drafted at 13, then it's likely to be where Mitch Trubisky's the one quarterback off the board. And this is where the dead zone is for quarterbacks. I think between 14 and right around 19 where they pick. Teams trying to get up ahead of Houston and Kansas City could look to this spot to say, hey, we're going to be safe and go get a Pat Mahomes or a Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I've said this all along. That 18 to 22 is always a sweet spot in the draft because there's always somebody that's just barely come off the board that maybe they have one or two players left and everybody's like, let's go get that guy. So I credit Jason Light. He's done a good job of setting up the market saying, hey, by the way, we're for sale. Doesn't mean they got to sell it, but he's putting it out there way ahead of time in front of all the other teams saying we're for sale at 19, which is smart because he understands that in that time, because he's been through a lot of drafts himself, that this is the spot where people want to go move up to go get a player. And to Todd's point, maybe you can move back 6-7 spots or even all the way out of the first. Doesn't mean you can't move back up in there again.
Jason's worked with the Patriots for a long time. Probably no team is shuffling the board more than them on draft weekend. The other thing is not afraid to be aggressive, whether it's moving down in this case or moving up. We saw it last year, obviously moving up in the second round to get Roberto Aguayo. The returns of that have not been strong so far, but if he's got a player he loves, he's not afraid to pay the draft capital to get to that slot.
We talked about Leonard Fournette earlier. You mentioned Dalvin Cook. What about Christian McCaffrey? Because that's a name that's had a lot of buzz over the last few weeks.
I said I think Leonard Fournette. You guys tell me what you're hearing. I think maybe San Francisco. It could be smoke. I don't think he gets past Jacksonville.
I don't think he gets. I think you're exactly. I think 3-4 are very real spots for Leonard Fournette. I don't think he gets anywhere near 5.
I think Tom Coughlin's presence here makes him more intriguing. So that, to me, I think, we talked about potentially McCaffrey there, and Carolina at 8 really likes Fournette. Will they move up to go get him? Who knows? I know that they like him more than McCaffrey. At least I'm told they like him more than McCaffrey. But they think McCaffrey's a really good backup option if he winds up there. So my guess is we're going to see Fournette in the first 4 picks. And I think it's highly likely McCaffrey in the first 8 picks. And then it should be a while before Dalvin Cook and any of the other running backs like an Alvin Kamara from Tennessee come off the board.
Something to keep in mind when you're evaluating where Christian McCaffrey could go in these first 8 picks is even if a team has a player entrenched as its starting running back, we're talking about McCaffrey's value in part because he can be a starting, wide receiver type player, a joker player in your offense. He's going to return kicks. He can play on special teams in multiple units. So even if a team already has its quote unquote workhorse in place, they may still see enough value in McCaffrey because he can be a OW, offensive weapon. It doesn't necessarily have to